Hello and good afternoon, dear friends. Today, in this lecture, we will be discussing the poem My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. This poem comes under the Victorian period, followed by the Romantic period. Robert Browning, let's see the information, the introduction of the author of the poet, which is Robert Browning. So, Robert Browning was born on May 7th, 1812 at Walworth, London. He was born at Walworth. This is the city which is in London. His father was a clerk in the Bank of England who possessed the 6,000 books, which became the real school for young Robert. So, basically, his father was a banker, clerk in the bank, and he has the mini library at his home. So this mini library helped Robert Browning to develop their sense of poetry. When he was a teenager, he made up his mind to devote himself to a poetic career. So in his teenager year, he decided to become a poet. In 1844, he met Elizabeth Barrett and married her and left for Italy. Though she died in 1861, she remained a constant source of inspiration for him. So, the wife of Robert Browning, which is Elizabeth Barrett Browning, is a constant source or a inspiration for Robert Browning. Robert Browning was an English poet and playwright whose dramatic monologues made him one of the foremost Victorian poets. So, this type of writings made him the foremost writer of the Victorian era. His poems are noted for irony, characterization, dark humor, social commentary, historical setting, and challenging vocabulary and syntax. Browning began his poetic career with Pauline in 1832, the first poem which showed him a promising poet. In his very first poet, he shown to the world that he is a very promising poet. By the time of his wife's death in 1861, he had published the collection Men and Women. First of all, after his wife's death, he published his first collection of poems, which is Men and Women. Then he wrote dramatic personae, the length epic poem. Then he wrote epic poem The Ring and the Book. And this poem bring him or made him a leading British poet. He died on 12th December 1889. The poem My Last Duchess is from the volume Dramatic Lyrics. So the present poem we are discussing in this lecture is taken from Dramatic Lyrics written in 1842. So it is a dramatic monologue spoken by the Duke of Ferrara, who tells his guest about his deceased wife, his last duchess. So this is a dramatic monologue. The speaker of this dramatic monologue is the Duke of Ferrara. Duke means king, and he is talking about his duchess. Duchess means the queen we can say. So basically the last duchess, which is his queen, is dead, and he is talking about the portrait of this last duchess. So let's see the introduction of this poem. So here we can see on the screen there is the Duke of Ferrara, messenger, duke, and duchess. So this is the portrait of duchess, but it is not a full portrait. In this poem, it is clear that she is talking about the full portrait of his last duchess. So, what is the background of the poem? See, the Duke of other state, other emperor, send his messenger to the Duke of Ferrara, asking for making the proposal of marriage for her daughter. So here we can say the Duke of Ferrara is talking about the portrait and discussing the quality of that portrait, and he is also describing his status and power in this lecture, in this poem. We can say this while reading the poem. So let's first see the first stanza of the poem. That's my last Duchess. I'm going to write, or I'm going to read the first stanza of the poem. That's my last Duchess, painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. I call that piece a wonder. Now Fra Pandolf's hands work busily a day, and there she stands. So here Duchess, here given some difficult words meaning. Duchess means the wife of a duke, which is a queen. Fra Pandolf, here Fra Pandolf is the artist who painted the portrait of the last Duchess. Fra Pandolf painted that poem, which is the Duke of Ferrara talking about right in this poem. So see the first line of the poem. That's my last Duchess painted wall to wall. He is talking with the messenger, and he is showing that picture of last Duchess to the messenger, and he is saying that this is my last Duchess, this is my last queen, painted on the wall. And his portrait was painted on the wall of a art gallery which is upstairs in the palace of Duke of Ferrara. So say again what he is saying, looking as if she were alive, I call that piece a wonder. So this painting is very epic, very we can say beautiful, as well as the portrait of the last Duchess is looking like she were alive, means very unique portrait was that. I call that piece a wonder now. And he is saying that he called that picture a wonder because this is the very unique painting, and it looks like that she were alive in that portrait, means we can see what is the quality of that picture, of that portrait. Very good quality of that portrait we can